Coming up, Larry Page knocks Zuck out of the Google Plus #1 spot. It's amazing that it took that long. And the Steve Jobs biography is officially out. Are you going to read it? Have you read it already? Lots of love for If This Then That. And keep warm in the winter with a stylus. How does it work? We'll tell you. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Social Hour is brought to you by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is The Social Hour with Sarah Lane and Amber MacArthur. Episode 31, recorded Monday, October 24th, 2011. This episode of The Social Hour is brought to you by Ford, featuring Wi-Fi connectivity with available Sync and My Ford Touch. Now your car can be a Wi-Fi hotspot. Check it out at the new 2012 Ford Focus and at Ford.com/technology. And by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly. All streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, go to Netflix.com/TWiT. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Social Hour from TWiT headquarters at the Brick House in Petaluma, California. I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Amber MacArthur from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I need a name for my house, Sarah, like the Brick House. That's pretty good.
Yeah, well, I didn't make it up. It's just there are a lot of bricks in here, so we decided it should be, since we had the TWiT cottage, this is definitely not a cottage. We couldn't get away with that, but Brick House seemed to make sense. So.
It definitely works. So, Sarah, how have you been? It's been a whole week of not talking.
I know. Well, I got a haircut, as you noticed before we started the show. So that's pretty much the most exciting thing that's happened to me in the last week. And San Francisco was really warm over the weekend. So I was at the beach in 80-degree weather, frolicking in the waves.
Wow.
Only for like a minute because the water's still really, really cold. But yeah, it was great. It was... it felt like we were cheating somehow for it to be almost Halloween and it be that warm.
That is like a nice treat, though, right?
Yes, yeah. This is what happens this time of year. Sometimes by now the Bay Area has turned and it's kind of rainy and just very fall-like. And sometimes it's just hot through November. So we're getting that later on Indian summer. What about you, Amber? What have you been up to?
Oh, you know what? Every spring and fall, I'm sort of knee-deep in conferences. So yesterday, I think I did my 6th event in the past week, and tomorrow morning I have one more, and then that ends a stretch of 7 events in 9 days or something like that. So I was in Winnipeg last week, Quebec City, I guess, the weekend before. But now I don't travel again until the new year, so I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm so excited to be sort of, staying local for a while. It's a good thing.
I feel like we had this conversation around this time last year. It must have been when we were still doing Net at Night, where you went into like a holiday lull and we're like, I don't have to go anywhere.
I know, it's so funny because people are always asking me, they always say, oh, when are you going to take vacation and what are you going to do? And we talked about this last week when we had Trippy on. It's like the last thing I want to do is go near the airport. Even when I drive near the airport, I just sort of cringe because I think, I just want to do the whole staycation kind of thing and stick close to home. I mean, it's just to get into routines. We were talking before the show how I just did my first spinning class and just having routines. It's hard to do that when you're traveling a lot. So happy to be home. And fortunately, I don't think I've really missed any shows because of traveling, but last year I did miss a lot. So it's good. I won't be missing any till at least next year, Sarah.
Well,
you're stuck with me.
I am glad to hear that. And I know what you mean about routines. It's like, it always feels really boring to think, I got to travel for work and it's going to be this really great destination, but, it's going to be such a hassle and I might be jet lagged. And it catches up with you when you do it that often, especially when you've got a family. And in my case, 2 cats. They're like my kids and I miss them when I'm gone. So
yeah, exactly. So it's nice to be on the ground for a while. And it is definitely fall here. We are not having a warm spell at all. In fact, we've had the weather's been kind of up and down, a couple of good days, but you can feel it's cooler and the leaves are falling. And I personally love fall. I love that feeling. Mm-hmm. But I could deal with a couple more days of sunshine, maybe a little San Francisco weather you can send this way.
Okay, I will. You can have ours. I'm done with it anyway. I got my nose sunburned yesterday, so I was like, what am I doing here at the beach?
And
I'm not this
Halloween
kind of person.
is coming up soon, so we're going to talk a little bit about that later on in the show. A couple of spooky and interesting Halloween links that we can discuss, so that should be fun.
I'm glad that you put those in there because I'm kind of a Halloween Scrooge, and it's not that I don't like Halloween. I'm just like, I always run out of time and don't really dress up or decorate anything, and I always feel like I'm missing something fun. So I'm glad that you're bringing Halloween to the show.
Oh, I love Halloween.
I wouldn't have otherwise.
We decorated our house, and I'm definitely a big fan of that particular holiday. I don't really dress up though. I'm not so into the dressing up, but just just all the decorations, getting candy, and now having a 2-year-old, it's fun to be able to pick out his costume. So
maybe I should start dressing up my cats. Maybe that would get me into Halloween a little bit more. That wouldn't be crazy or weird at all.
No, that wouldn't be creepy to look back on. Pictures.
No, I'm sure those would be photos I'd cherish forever. Well, speaking of routines, I know that one of our very regular routines, even when we're traveling, is to be checking our big social networks, namely Google Plus these days. And there was an interesting story that Danny Sullivan over at Search Engine Land posted earlier this morning about how Mark Zuckerberg is finally no longer the Google Plus user who's in the most circles. So he's no longer the most popular user on Google Plus. That crown has been awarded to Larry Page, which you think is really deserved, but sort of overdue. Interesting transition there, Chad. Wow, it's like we're on a movie set. Very cool. Somebody was playing with the TriCaster over the weekend, obviously. So finally Larry is the most popular user of his own creation.
It's so funny. And if you look at this article on searchengineland.com and you see the list of the most popular users, it's funny how celebrities are coming into the mix and pushing, regular old people down the list. I know when Google Plus first launched, a lot of it was filled with, as far as the top 20, definitely tech early adopters. And now you see Paris Hilton in there, Will.i.am, Britney Spears, Snoop Dogg, Tyra Banks.
Right. And they're sort of mingling with Pete Cashmore and Mark Cuban and people who are most definitely in the tech scene. But that's what always happens when these services get popular. What I thought was weird about this article was I'm actually mentioned at some point as someone who is a suggested user in the technology sector, which is great. I mean, I'm thrilled to be put into technology. But then again, you see Gina Trapani over in news. And I think, well, gosh, I mean, if I'm in the tech category, Gina's really in the tech category. So some of the stuff I think it's nice to be included in general. That was my comment that I left Danny earlier this morning on his blog post. But sometimes I think, I wonder why they chose the categories that they chose for some of these folks. I also then did go to their suggested users page, and I didn't see myself anywhere. So I'm not sure if it's some sort of an algorithm where it changes regularly, or I was just looking at a particular view, but these are the sorts of things where it's sometimes curious to me who gets included and in what category and what the reasoning was behind it.
It is. So is this I am under technology on this list as well. Is this the final official list? Is that I guess it is, right?
Well, so Danny says the list has changed over time. I think they introduced the list originally in September of this year. Felicia Day, he says, is an example of somebody who wasn't on it when it was originally launched, but she was very popular on Google+. Then she was added after it originally came out. And then he says, here's the full current list for anybody who's curious. You and I are both on this in technology, but if you go to the actual list in Google+, because there's a permalink, I don't see myself under technology, so I'm not sure if that's some sort of rotating list where they just don't want to overwhelm new users or what. But it's interesting.
It's a long one. I love that, you see that Dalai Lama is on the list as well under politics, as well as one of the top picks. So that's kind of funny. I think I just mentioned on Google Plus earlier today, I took a screenshot of my newsfeed on Google Plus, and I thought it was so interesting. I have my brother there, then I have some of my tech friends, and then all of a sudden the Dalai Lama. It's like, if you don't think Google Plus is becoming mainstream, then I don't know where you've been, because it's quite a diverse list of people who are currently using it on a regular basis.
It's true, and it really does. I mean, it's almost like, I don't know if I should compare this to Android in any way because I'll just get myself into a hole I can't get out of. But it does have that make it your own kind of thing. Sort of like if you're a power user, you can use Google Plus in a certain way, whereas other social networks might be a little bit more of a confined, closed system. For example, you were using an extension this morning that showed all of your recent posts of people you were following in kind of this nice, almost Google Reader view. And someone said, "What is that?" And you said, "I don't even know what it's called." I think Sarah told me about it, and I hadn't because I have never seen that before. But that just goes to show you how people can have their own experiences within Google Plus, which I think is really great.
Yeah, no, it's so funny. I literally can't remember what extension that is. And after a while, you just assume that everybody sees things the same way because you're so used to it. So if I dig that up and I can find out what extension it is, I will share it on the show. But right now, I'm at a loss, I have to say.
Well, I actually downloaded something that I think it was. So let me just pull up new extensions that I've downloaded. And it was called... I ended up disabling it because I didn't have time to get too into it. I think it's G plus me for Google Plus.
That's
so familiar. Collapses the Google Plus stream while keeping live updates. Collapses post, hides comments. So if you want to take a look at the extension G plus me for Google Plus.
See, Sarah, I knew either you or the answer to this somehow. Maybe you didn't recommend it, but you would find it.
It was somebody actually in your comments who said, "I think this is what Amber's using." So I said, "Okay, I'm just going to use that information." So yeah, it's again, I mean, that's just one of so many extensions that you can use on Google Plus. It's actually kind of overwhelming, but you don't need to use them unless you want them. A little bit more Google news. We on some of the TWiT shows last week, we've been hearing rumblings of what's going to happen with Google Music. Google Music Beta has been around for a while, and that allows you to upload music into the cloud and then be able to access your music on mobile devices. Jason Howell, who runs our Android show and also works on Tech News Today, is like, "Yeah, I use it all the time, but I have a great Android phone. It works really well." So I think that there are a lot of people who are not using Google Music to its full potential because it's not really ready for prime time yet. It's sort of a beta product that's half done. And the word on the street now is that they are building a music download store, but they don't have they don't have agreements with all of the big music labels yet, which are usually, it's EMI and Sony and Universal that require you to kind of play with any other music service. But they're working on that. But one of the features of Google Music would be to be able to share. Let's say I had downloaded an album and I thought that one of the songs on the album Amber would just absolutely love. I could choose to share that song with you, that you would be able to either listen to a finite amount of times, or you'd have a 24 hours or something to listen to the song. So almost like gifting you a preview type of a thing, which is...
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, it's an interesting twist. I know a few of us last week were thinking, is that something we'd really use? I mean, it sounds cool. I guess without actually having the feature enabled, I'm not sure if it's something that I would use a lot of necessarily, but... It's also, the music store is also supposed to be integrated more with Google Plus, which makes perfect sense because the more Google services work well with each other, obviously the better. I'm not exactly sure if that would just become a tab. Maybe you would see all of my recent activity kind of the way my RDO songs are showing up on my Facebook profile now. But that would certainly help for discovery.
Yeah, no, it seems kind of interesting. And, I think, and we've touched on this before, and I don't want to keep harping on it, but I do love the whole user interface design of Google Plus and just the experience of being able to share content, post content, pictures, images look great, simple to share videos. Also, if you want to, share someone else's post, it's really simple to do. So I think it's all about execution in terms of, like you mentioned, how it rolls out on Google Plus. And it could be something you used all the time just based on the fact that maybe it's just easy and it looks kind of slick, right? That's how I find I'm using Google Plus, and one of the reasons I'm using it so much is just that I just like the experience. I'm drawn to it, like I'm drawn to using a Mac.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if they can figure out how to, well, I say unobtrusively, but I don't necessarily think that Facebook's version of music discovery is unobtrusive. I've just gotten used to it in a short amount of time since our new timelines, since some of us at least enabled our new timelines. But yeah, if it could be something almost like Google Plus Games, that's something that doesn't bother me at all unless I want to be interested in what my friends are playing. It's kind of hidden in its own little area, but easily jumped over to if we're interested in. That could be cool with Google Music. And certainly if we can share songs with each other, that's cool too. It'll just be interesting to see how Google Plus evolves. There's another rumor that Google Reader is not only getting a bit of a facelift, but will also have better integration with Google Plus, so that you and I and everybody who's in each other's circles will be able to more closely share what we're reading, what we're subscribed to, and they'll try to do that a little bit better than how they originally tried to do that with Google Buzz, where people were a little horrified that a lot of that stuff was linked without them having expressly said, yes, I want to opt in and share all that information with my friends.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, speaking of sharing things and using different services, just to talk a little bit about apps on the social networking front. This is a report that came out from ComScore just over the past few days. And I'm always fascinated to watch how quickly the mobile world is growing. And this report says that mobile social networking, the app audience for it has grown 126% in the past year. So just phenomenal how many people are accessing social networks from their phones. And I think just a trend that's going to continue to increase. In fact, I was speaking at a conference last week, and I had mentioned one stat that kind of surprised people, that out of 800 million Facebook users, about 250 million people actually access Facebook on a regular basis from their mobile device. And those people are twice as active as people who access Facebook from the web. So just fun to watch some of those trends, especially if you're trying to navigate around the social media world, if you're working for a company and trying to give people advice. It's always, every single week, it's becoming more and more important to think about that mobile experience.
Totally, yeah. It's the numbers are kind of amazing, but at the same time you think, well, this makes perfect sense, right? If I didn't have a Facebook app on my iPhone, which is, that's my smartphone of choice, then I'd access Facebook when I was in front of my laptop, which just isn't all the time. And when I had time to open up a tab and get in there. And there's something, I think, a little bit more, even if it's just psychological, I feel like it's more time intensive to go to web Facebook. The complete Facebook experience, it's almost like I've got to check all my notifications. And when I'm accessing it on the go, if I just want to kill a little bit of time, I just check Facebook Messenger, or maybe check, a photo that somebody had tagged me in, or just little by little. So obviously that's me visiting Facebook twice as much, just because I have two different ways to access it. Now with Facebook for iPad, I don't even know if that counts in mobile numbers. Tablets are always sort of a gray area for this sort of stuff. But if you're on the go, I consider it mobile. And I almost never go to Facebook on the web anymore because I enjoy my tablet experience so much. And that's just, one example of a social network.
Yeah, and they have a great little graph at the bottom of the article on Read Write Web that reports some of the stats, and they talk about how this is affecting brands, and also how users of social networks are interacting with brands and using coupons and clicking on advertisements even. The percentage of the social networking blog audience that's clicking on ads who are mobile subscribers, it looks like it's pretty high here. I can't quite believe this number, but it's a 27.7% if I'm reading it correctly. So a lot of interaction there, and a lot of people getting mobile coupons and deals and offers, and it's just amazing how quickly this audience has grown.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. But then again, it's the future. It's mobile.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I know. It's one of those things, like even in the past 3 months, I feel like I probably take my iPad with me more often and just have chosen to leave my laptop entirely at home, because between having a smartphone and an iPad, that's enough for me to get through the day in between meetings and all of that.
I was talking to a friend of mine on Friday, and the subject of iPads came up, and she said, I don't know what to do with my iPad. I think I might sell it. I never use it. And I said, why? Why don't you use it if you have one? And she said, I don't know. She's got a MacBook Air. And so between the two of those, she feels like the MacBook Air, it's got the keyboard and it's still very light and it's portable. And I said, oh man, it's true that writing anything that's lengthy is cumbersome on an iPad, and there are external keywords, but then that's somewhat defeats the purpose of having the single tablet. But over the weekend, I rarely am on my laptop anymore. I don't even have a desktop at home, but I don't even need to take my laptop out of my bag until I get back into work. Sometimes on Sunday night I start working again. But it's like for all of my keeping up and reading and, easy interaction and plus one-ing stuff, a tablet is perfect for me. Or my
That's
phone.
all you need. The other thing is that I've found recently is because I keep bringing my iPad to bed with me, is that I think it's giving me insomnia.
Well, they say that it's the light of the LCD screen actually can mess with people's natural sleep rhythms.
Yeah,
so you're probably doing that to yourself.
Yeah, the past couple of weeks, I'll just take it upstairs and I'll be, late and I'll think, okay, well, I'll bring the iPad so I can read on it and surf and everything. And Chris is always telling me that, it is because of the screen. It's just, it's keeping you awake. And I think it's exactly right. Because if I take the iPad up to bed with me, I will be up for like an extra 2 or 3 hours. It's out of control. Yes, the iPad is giving me insomnia. It's not a good thing, Sarah.
Well, it's not a good thing, but I can almost one-up you because I've been reading in bed and fallen asleep and had the iPad hit me in the face more than once. Like that happened once and it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how embarrassing. At least no one's around. But it's happened more than once. So I guess if you're tired enough, even the iPad won't keep you up.
You took it to a whole other level, Sarah, with that. Wow. This leads in nicely to our next topic about Steve Jobs and the big biography.
Yeah, so we all knew the biography was coming, and originally it was coming out in 2012. Then it was coming out in November. Then it was coming out at the end of October, and then last week, towards the end of the week, a couple of news publications got copies of the book in advance of today, when it actually went live, October 24th. And so some of us, the people who have wanted to read book spoilers, have been reading quotes from the book that journalists have been tearing apart all weekend. And I've been very torn about the whole thing because there is other stuff in the news right now, but by far the story I've heard most of is some version of this amazing book. The author, Walter Isaacson, was on 60 Minutes last night, so then there was his interview, and I mean, people are tearing this apart, almost like there's some secret code to be revealed, and all of the quotes, and what did maybe Jobs mean when he said this or when he did that, and is he really a jerk, and is he as much of a genius as everybody thinks? And it's like, I don't know what to make of it. I don't know if I'm even comfortable reading the biography at this point because it's kind of turned into its own monster. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is a little voyeuristic, in terms of how we just want to get this glimpse into his life, and especially because it's so recent. He just passed away a few weeks ago. So I did watch the 60 Minutes interview, and it was even just kind of chilling listening to the audio recordings that they played during the show, because you just got a sense of Steve Jobs talking about his own mortality and how he felt about what he was doing and his relationship with his family and his kids, like all this personal stuff. And it's almost like we were like, hey, we know nothing about Steve Jobs. We know nothing. And then we have everything, and it's like a kid in a candy store. People are just going nuts.
Maybe that's part of it, is that he was such a secretive guy that now having all of this information somehow makes me feel like I don't know, I'm reading a diary I shouldn't be reading.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I definitely, I haven't bought the book. I mean, I probably will end up reading it at some point. But in some ways, I feel like I'm getting so much just out of reading what people are saying on Twitter and watching things like 60 Minutes when they have the extended interview with the writer. So I feel like I've already gotten a pretty good taste of what it's about. But a huge frenzy, I think, for people trying to get their hands on it.
Absolutely. If you do a search on Tech Meme for Steve Jobs, we've got it up now. I mean, it's just article after article after article, each with, trying to do their best to put a unique spin on essentially the same book everyone's talking about. It's really amazing. It's this whole Steve Jobs, the timing of everything has played into this a lot, because there was a new iPhone that was announced. Steve Jobs passed away. The biography, which is the only biography ever been about him that he's actively participated in and kind of given his go-ahead on, was moved up. And so this is all so much in the world of Steve Jobs news has happened in such a short amount of time that I don't blame anybody for kind of getting themselves worked up into a frenzy about it. But socially, it is very overwhelming.
It is. And the thing I can't stop thinking about, Sarah, is, we've heard a lot about how much money Apple has. And it was mentioned last night as well in the 60-Minute story how I think Apple has more money than any company in the world. I think ExxonMobil being number one. And I just keep thinking, what are they doing with all this money? That's the thing I keep thinking about. I don't know why. I mean, I kind of am trying to look beyond Steve Jobs and think about the company and just think about how they've been so profitable. And it's just... I'm just curious what the next steps are with the company and what happens with all that cash, right?
I think a lot of it goes to their legal team so they can sue other companies for ripping off their designs.
I guess I was just waiting, for an announcement at some point, even with Steve Jobs and his own money, that maybe it was going to go to a big charity or something like that. I've been waiting for that piece of news. That would be interesting.
Yeah, well, at least now that would. That's actually been something that other people have brought up as well. Now, apparently, the movie rights to the biography have already been bought.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I would love it if they would wait 10 years and then make the movie, but I'm sure that it's too good a story for anybody to sit on that long. It just seems so fresh.
And who would play Steve Jobs?
Good question. We had a debate about this here internally at work. And it's like every great actor's name gets thrown out, and it's like, ooh, good actor, but I don't know if he could pull it off.
Yeah.
It's a really tough, Steve Jobs is just that's a tough individual to play.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. All right. So a quick reminder that we record the Social Hour live every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern and at 11 a.m. Pacific. And our website is twit.tv/TSH. And of course, you can email us. We love getting your emails at thesocialhour@twit.tv. So lots of ways to reach us.
Absolutely. If you can't watch us live, you can always watch our archives. We've got audio feeds too. If you're on the road a lot, or you like listening at the gym, and you don't have time to watch the video, that's cool too. But then you miss some stuff. We got our nice video embeds right on all of our episode pages. So definitely check it out. If you're new to the show, you might really enjoy the archives. They hold up well. A lot of really interesting founders and creators and people in social media space that we've talked to over the last 6 months or so. So give that a look. And you can always email us at thesocialhour@twit.tv if you have anything to add. Okay, so before we get to some of your exemplary Halloween ideas, Amber, let's take a moment to thank Netflix for sponsoring this episode of The Social Hour. So you know what Netflix is. There's absolutely no way that you're watching TWiT and say, what's Netflix? I have no idea, because we talk about it quite a bit. Netflix is the way that you can instantly stream movies, TV shows, TV series, lots of really, really, really good titles, up-to-date stuff, new and noteworthy movies, and a lot of old classics, stuff for kids. TV shows like Breaking Bad has been added. If you haven't caught up on Breaking Bad yet, go watch the first few seasons on Netflix right now. The nice thing about how Netflix it kind of works with your lifestyle is not only can you watch Netflix via, let's say, a TV widget, or your Roku box, or your Apple TV, or your Xbox 360, or those sorts of things with your home TV, but you can also just access Netflix on any laptop through a browser, on an iPad, for example, a few different varieties of Android phones as well. So you really have a lot of choice when it comes to how you want to consume your content. That's where Netflix really shines, because it knows that you're busy and you might be a variety of different places, and you want to watch your movies or your TV shows, and maybe you only have an hour, and so you get halfway through something, and then you've got to turn off the movie and do something else. Netflix will remember where you left off, and you can watch your movie later when you get home. So that's really, really, really helpful. And you can cancel at any time. So here's the deal. Netflix, you say, it sounds pretty great. I don't know. What's the catch? There really is no catch, because if you're already a subscriber, you know it's great, but you probably know somebody who doesn't use Netflix, and you can give them the code, netflix.com/twit, the URL anyway, special URL, where they sign up, they get 30 days free. 30 days free. They can watch whatever they want, no limits, no nothing. Very easy to sign up, and at the end of those 30 days, they can say, I love Netflix, I'm never going back to real life again, or they can go on their merry way with, no strings attached. Netflix.com/twit is that URL. Tell a friend. Tell your mom. And, it's the holiday season. Maybe you don't even have $1 to your name to get anyone a gift. There's their gift. A lot of free movies and TV shows. And thanks again to Netflix for sponsoring this episode of The Social Hour. So,
all right, Sarah.
So, Amber, heard you like Halloween.
Yes, I love Halloween, and so it's coming up in just a few days. And if you are so into social media and you want a great idea for a socially inspired Halloween costume, we have a great list of 15 that I discovered on socialtimes.com. Incidentally, I'd never been to this site before, but it's kind of fun and great content there. Just wanted to share a few of these costume ideas. One is recommending you go as Charlie Sheen, of course, a great one.
How
Google
do you do that?
I know. This is this one, they don't have a lot of information, but it looks like the person has just a zombie mask on, so like a Charlie Sheen mask.
Oh my gosh, that's not actually him. Wow,
no.
I thought that was
I think
him.
You have to be able to find that mask somewhere. So this is going to be a popular trend. It does look like him.
Well,
so for our audio listeners, it is. It's like the exact replica of Charlie Sheen.
That is like, it's like a wax figure. Wow, that's really strange. I guess
It's
also
really
that's it would be a fun attitude to play at a Halloween party. So it's not just your Charlie Sheen mask, but then you get to say a bunch of crazy stuff. And
yeah, you're drinking tiger blood, right? You're ready to go. You're winning.
That's right.
So another idea, and I won't share all of them, just a couple, but is Google Plus circles. So they're saying that you could grab a hula hoop and a few friends, and you can all stand inside the hula hoop and walk around together in the same circle.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's super easy, Sarah. This one's for you, I think.
Yeah, oh, Nine Cat. Or you could do that. Yeah, so you could dress up your pets, or you could go yourself. All you need is something rainbow-like and some, something Pop-Tart related. Wow, these are really creative.
They're really fun. I like the hashtag costume critic. So for this one, it's really simple. All you do is you create a bunch of hashtags. So get some paper, cardboard and a pen, and write like fail, sexy, cute, funny, scary as a hashtag. And then you just stick them on people around. So you're critiquing other people's costumes. So you're a hashtag costume critic. That could be a lot of fun.
That is a good one. I love that.
Yeah, there's a few of them.
There's so much social/viral/meme costumes that people, every year, somebody will come up with something that's so unique. And I'll think, I just don't know how people think of this stuff. So this is definitely good for at least inspiration.
Oh, yeah. The final one that they have on the list out of 15 is called the iPhone 5 costume. And it says, if you're not in the Halloween spirit, here's an idea. Just go as the iPhone 5 and don't show up for the party at all.
That's good. That's really good.
It's a really cute list. And it's probably good that we're having some laughs right now, because the next thing I'm going to mention is so uber creepy. And Sarah, I don't know if you've had a chance to try it out.
Yes. Oh, take this lollipop. So I actually sort of know the guy who put this together. His name is Jason Zada, and I actually met him on a very long layover at Long Beach Airport on the way back from South by Southwest to the Bay Area last year. Yeah, he lives in the Bay Area as well. And for whatever reason, a bunch of us on this plane who had to change in Long Beach were just stuck there for hours. Our plane was late. And so I'm like sidled up at the bar, and this guy comes up and we start chatting. And it turns out we know some of the same people, and he has an interesting job. He does a lot of like music video and advertising commercials, and he is a director. So we kind of became social networking friends. And he had messaged me the other day. He DM'd me on Twitter and said, hey, you should check this out. It's one of my new projects. And so I watched it and was like, oh, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And, I tweeted it out. You guys got to watch this. And over the next few days, it obviously, some of the word spread just virally. And it's gotten, he's pretty excited about all the hits that he got. In fact, let me go ahead and, Chad, we can show this on my computer, because I have to be logged in with my Facebook account. And you guys will get an idea of what the heck Amber and I are talking about if you haven't seen it yet.
So it's takethislollipop.com is where you go for anyone who's listening in. And a warning before you go in there, and it's a little bit creepy, is there?
Yes. So it's like, this guy's at his computer. What's he doing? What is this going to be about? And it's my profile. Now, of course, you have to log in with your using Facebook Connect. in order to take this lollipop to, sorry, my Bluetooth keyboard is trying to be connected, to even get this video to play. So that's obviously where it's pulling from. You can see Amber Mack and my friends there. That was a nice little coincidence. So this is sort of, my stalker who's going to murder me for Halloween, looking at pictures of me and my boyfriend and my friends out on the town. And he's getting more and more agitated. And obviously, okay, so we've seen this enough so that I get what's going on. But that first moment where you see your own profile is really scary.
It's really creepy. So, the guy, I think it's just because it's directed so well, and the guy is so eerie. He has all this dirt under his fingernails. Oh. He looks just completely psycho. And so you can see him sitting at the computer and browsing your profile, looking through all of your personal pictures. And like you mentioned, because it is pulling your information from Facebook, then he gets in the car and he starts driving towards your town because he pulls up what city that you're in.
Exactly.
And kind of hones in on a map of the exact location. And so it's a little bit freaky. It reminds me somewhat of the Dexter viral video campaign that went out. Oh, you remember that, Sarah, a few years ago? I think Leo sent it to me and it scared the crap out of me because basically it pulls your name up in the video, kind of like this does, and puts your name on a wall and it says, the next one is you, sort of thing. So the keeping with the horror theme. Scary for people, I think, who are worried about Facebook privacy. My first reaction was like, I'm off Facebook. I'm shutting this down. Even though I know it's all in fun, right? But it's a little bit creepy, I have to say, but well done.
Very creepy, yes. Well done. Cool concept. Definitely got a lot of people talking. But if for any reason you're not one of those Facebook Connect people, and a lot of people say, hey, if that's the way that I have to sign up for a service, we got this with Trippy last week, in fact. I just don't, I need another option. I'm not going to do that. So there are probably a lot of people who went to Take This Lollipop's landing page and said, whatever this is, I'm not gonna participate, because obviously it connects to Facebook and pulls your information. But if you want to scare a friend, it's a pretty good way to do it. Especially if they're on Facebook a lot.
It's a little freaky. Okay, so on a lighter note, if we haven't horrified you so far with that particular video, this is just a fun social link that I stumbled upon earlier today. I was checking out weather in a city in the U.S., and I went to weather.com like I always do, just to quickly plug in a city. And then I noticed that they have this this social option that says people are talking about weather in your area, check it out. So if you search for a city like San Francisco, for instance, and then you check out the social stream based on people talking about San Francisco weather, it pulls up conversations that people are tweeting back and forth about weather in that city.
That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah. What I like about this, and you know what, it's not always perfect. When I pulled up a city, it was, some of the information wasn't that relevant, but I think it's neat because even though, these weather networks are pretty accurate, the reality is at a certain time, if I want to know exactly what's happening, sometimes using Twitter and actually getting people's reaction is a better way to find out from people who are actually there on the ground. So taking weather social. So I thought that was a fun one for the show.
Yeah, that could kind of come in handy, not only if you were trying to figure out, in a major metro area, the weather sometimes changes really quickly. Maybe you would just ping this to see what's going on outside if you were in an office building or something and, hadn't been outside in a while. Or let's say you wanted to, for whatever reason, compile a list of tweets from the epic weekend, that we just had in my neighborhood where everybody went to the beach, and I'm sure a lot of people were talking about it, but I don't necessarily know any of those people, and maybe there wasn't like a hashtag to search on Twitter. It's cool. It's definitely Weather Channel stepping it up on the social networking front.
They're stepping up. It's just a neat little thing. All right. So for our social tip of the week, Sarah, this is recommended by Matthew Ingram. He's been on the show before. I know we're both big fans of his, and it is called If This Then That, and I can never remember the name, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yes. IFTTT.com. And it is If This Then That. Leo and I actually talked about this on iPad Today a couple weeks ago because I had discovered it was a really great way to link up my Instagram and my Dropbox accounts so that I could say anytime I upload a picture to Instagram, just automatically save a copy to Dropbox, which is something that Instagram isn't doing natively, at least not yet. But that is just one example of the way that you can hook up services. You could, so yeah, that's one of their examples, because it's a feature that a lot of people really like. But you can also go to their recipes area. If you go up to, you have to join first. Here, Chad, I'm probably logged in. ifttt.com.
Yeah, they have all the other tasks that you can kind of set up. I just, for instance, set up to get all my Instagram pictures emailed to my Gmail account, because I just thought that was useful, just to have access to those photos, so I don't feel like they're lost forever in cyberspace. So it worked super easy. I mean, it's really simple to set that up. And it works with up to 30 different web services. So you can sync up your services and get them to really kind of operate together in a much smarter way.
Yeah, absolutely. So every time you're tagged in a photo on Facebook, for example, that might be something that you want in your collection. You can get that sent to Dropbox, but it's not just Dropbox. We were talking about weather a minute ago. If you were set up with a weather service that told you it was going to rain, maybe you want to get an email. Maybe that's before you get out of bed, you want some email sent to you being like, just wear your galoshes, that sort of thing, so you can better prepare. I love all of this stuff. You can get an SMS when your new podcast posts a new episode, so that you can stay on top of things via RSS. I mean, the list goes on and on. I think a lot of people who did any experimenting at all with Yahoo Pipes, this will be somewhat familiar to them. Yahoo Pipes is definitely a lot like this, where you could create your own actions, really, like chain of actions. But if this then that it's nice. Not only does it have a lot of services just right off the bat where you can combine the two, and it's really just about if one thing happens, then create another action. So it's kind of simplified. But the website it's nice. It's pretty
Simple,
easy to
right?
understand. Yeah, I dig it too.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, even when you search around, I know they have one recommended recipe, which is to sync up Twitter and Evernote. And this would be really useful for me, for example. I'm constantly seeing people share links and ideas that I want to maybe include in a social media presentation. So I'm able to, if I favorite a tweet on Twitter, for example, anytime I favorite that tweet, I can get it sent directly as a note to my Evernote account. I mean, how simple is that, right? Just awesome.
Which is great, especially when you favorite tweets that are almost like a research thing.
Yeah.
Because those are the kinds of those are the sorts of tweets that I favorite. It's really, I've kind of stopped favoriting what a clever tweet that was, ha ha ha, accolades. It's more like Amber just shared a URL and I don't have time to do anything with it, so I'll favorite it so I can go back later and put it in a show.
Yeah, so really, really simple. So if this, then that, and I think it's just ifttt.com to sign up, and just takes a couple minutes to kind of navigate around and figure out what you're doing, and then you're set to go, and you probably won't stop creating tasks.
No, it's good stuff. Very good stuff. Cool social tip. If this, then that. And if you can't remember, it's just ifttt. This, then that. All right, so a quick spotlight. I subscribe to Om Malik's Om Says newsletter. It's totally free. It's something that he puts together in addition to the stories that are written on Gig Om by Om and his staff. That you can just subscribe to, and it's a weekly email newsletter where sometimes they talk about stuff that's going on at Gig Om, but it's more of Om's personal, here's what I've been reading on the web, here's some great reading material over the weekend type stuff. And he obviously does a lot of reading, and he's always sending me really interesting articles written by people that I don't know, people that I don't know in the scene. Sometimes I do, but more often than not, it's really, really great discovery tool for just interesting thoughts from people who I might not have been exposed to otherwise. One of the articles that he did link to this week was a blog post called Enough About You that was written by Nilofer Merchant, who has a blog called Yes and No, that's KNOW, and it's kind of thoughts and ideas for innovators is the spin on her blog. She's had a lot of experience working at very large companies, startups, consulting, and this latest post of hers was very interesting to me and kind of struck a chord because her point is that social media and being able to market yourself and network and all of that stuff is extremely important, and nobody really would dispute that, but that your approach is so crucial And when your approach becomes a very one-sided, here's my new show, here's my new blog post, here's what I did, people fall into that trap very easily because they feel like, well, that's what we're all supposed to do, right? We're all sharing about ourselves, and that's how social networking works, and that it's a very short-sighted way to approach things because people learn to tune you out when it's obvious that it's not a two-way conversation. Obviously, Amber, you and I have talked about this between ourselves and with many guests on our show at length. But I thought that Nilofer put this into a really interesting context, especially since she said, listen, when I first started to get into social networking, this is absolutely the mistake I made. And it took me a while to figure out that my engagement was nowhere near where it should have been because I was just not thinking it through all the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. I even sometimes I find myself looking through my own Twitter stream and seeing the most recent tweets that I sent. And if I feel like a majority of them are just me broadcasting stuff that I'm doing and not enough of me replying to people or retweeting people, then I know that I have to step it up a little bit. So I think you need to have a really good combination of all of those things.
Yeah.
And I think especially with the replies, I think, sometimes it's difficult to reply to everybody who sends you a message on Twitter. But the reality is that's where a lot of conversations start. Mm-hmm. And I know it's frustrating for people who go and they send a message to someone and publicly and they don't say anything. And so it's good just to keep that back and forth going as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think depending on what you do for work, Amber, you and I do a lot of, hey, here's this new episode that I just posted, or here's my latest blog post, or here's something I wrote for the Globe and Mail, that sort of thing. It's like there's a lot of stuff that we're creating that I can send you an easy link and you can watch our latest episode of The Social Hour, for example. But I really do try not to just have a steady stream on Twitter or Google Plus that's just all that. Because, of course, if you were just trying to get to know somebody and that's all you see, then you wouldn't really... I mean, there's some people who get something out of that, who want to be reminded every time you post a new show, but that doesn't really make for a person that you feel like you can get to know. And it doesn't really come across as somebody who's interested in getting to know you. So that's, it's just something for all of us to think about, I guess. And I don't think that those are right or wrong. It just...
No, and I think it's good to, just every once in a while kind of check in on your different social networks and see how much of, back and forth you're doing and make sure that it's a good portion of the messages that you're setting out. Now, Sarah, we are going to take some feedback. So some emails that we got and as well as a weekly pitch. The first email, I'm not sure if we have the name of the person or is it just
we don't know because they actually sent us an invite through the service itself. So it ended up being an anonymous user, but a user nonetheless.
Okay, so a Fitocracy user emailed to say that I just started using a new social site and didn't recall it mentioned on the Social Hour yet, but I had not heard of it till the other day. It's called Fitocracy, and it's in beta right now. It's a social game you can use to track your fitness activities, earn achievements, beat quests, and compete against your friends. Basically, they make your workouts and activities into a game like Foursquare, and I have some invites for you, and Leo might like this as well. So I just checked out the site. I haven't signed up yet, but I'm seeing a lot of this out there in the social space.
Yeah, so I went ahead and clicked on the link that our very nice, whoever you are, anonymous user emailed us. So I got into Fitocracy, and yes, it is still in beta, so it's an invite situation. But when I'm in here looking at my my profile, I'm not really following anybody yet because I haven't gone as far as to hook up my Twitter and Facebook accounts, which always helps figure out quickly who else is using the site. But the idea is that I'm following one person here who's earned 96 points recently for cycling. Went cycling for an hour, went 6.7 miles. I assume that he has hooked up perhaps like a Nike Plus or a running app or something, so that he knows exactly how far he went. But the idea is that you're tracking your exercise, your weight, the kind of things that you've been doing at the gym, for example. Fitocracy says, okay, Sarah, I don't know enough about you yet. So if you're interested in exercising, here's some suggested workouts that you might be able to do today, whether you're at the gym or, you've got a bike or that sort of thing. Dumbbell bicep curl. So that's actually something I never do at the gym. So it's like, okay, well, let's say that I really wanted to get into more arm exercises. I could track a lot of this stuff on Fitocracy. And I think the reason that this is attractive to a lot of people is that there's that I shared enough of what my goal is with enough people that now I have to achieve that goal, because I have to answer to all of these other people if I don't end up going to the gym and burning 300 calories, or if I don't get that 96 points, even though they're just virtual points. It's an incentive for me to be active, and obviously the more friends you have who are cheering you on in a setting like this, the more successful you'll be. So I really like the idea. I sometimes feel like all of the sites do too much. There's so much of a gaming element to everything now. It's like, do we really need another kind of Foursquare for exercise? But I think this is actually, it's almost more meaningful than I went to Whole Foods today, or I went to this restaurant, or I went to this bar. It's like you feel good about yourself when you did, that 20-mile bike ride across the Golden Gate Bridge, and now you can gloat about it to everybody.
Yeah, I think what I like about this is just that there's a positive outcome, right? So, I think it's beneficial for people using it, and it's always great for more and more people to exercise and stay healthy. So, it's fun to see this. And I've seen a lot of services and apps like this out there, including in terms of what you eat. So, I don't know if Sarah, I don't remember the name of the app, but maybe Foodsy is the name of it now that I think of it. And basically, you get points for eating the right type of healthy food. So, I think it's a good trend of technology tools.
Well, Foodsy, I know, are the folks that send you those neat gift baskets where you can try out different kinds of sort of artisan foods. They may have some other element that I'm not aware of, or you might just be thinking of something that sounds a lot like Foodsy.
Yeah, no, if I go to foodsy.com, it says keep track of what you eat, compete against friends, and stay fit. So
how do you spell it?
Foodzy or ZY.
Oh, well, so the Foodsy I'm thinking of is IE.
Yeah. So that one's kind of neat too. So you pay a yearly subscription fee, and you can manage your food better.
Oh, that's very cool. I'm not even familiar with Foodsy.
Sarah, you should iPad today.
I will. I absolutely will. Yeah. So that's so you've got a couple new ideas. Then there's Foodsy, if it's more food based. Fitocracy is clearly about. It's weight management. Obviously, food goes a lot into that, but it seems very much more focused on fitness, and especially specific exercises that you're going through. And of course, you get points. You can be the top of the leaderboard of your friends, that sort of thing. So, thank you to our anonymous Fitocracy user for at least getting me set up. And Amber, if you want the invite code, I think that he had like 10 left or something. So you can get over there as well.
Good to know.
So our weekly pitch this week, you might think to yourself, they don't do that. We don't, actually. But what Amber and I get a lot of, and many times we don't ever talk about it because it's very clearly a pitch from a company that is emailed to us. Sometimes the company says, hey, we're this company, we're doing this cool stuff, you should look at it, that's fine. Sometimes the company is sort of, they pretend to be just a user on the internet who watches our show and want to tell us about a product. And after you are in the business long enough, you get used to being able to distinguish between what's actually something that someone just discovered on their own and want to share with us, and somebody at a company trying to get press. But so those people we don't feature unless we really like the service and come across it ourselves. But sometimes there are pitches from companies where I say, I think this might be really cool, and maybe we should talk about it and let the users of our show decide if it seems cool. And one of the pitches that we got over the last week was from something called Rawporter. So that's R-A-W Porter. And they have just a little introductory video of how their service works that I figured we could watch and decide whether we think it's cool or not.
Introducing Rawporter, the first smartphone app to crowdsource raw news content on demand. Now, media outlets can instantly send news assignments to millions of smartphone users worldwide. That means wherever there's news, there's a reporter. Traditional methods of capturing news are too costly for media outlets and boring for the audience. Viewers want to see the event as it's happening, not a reporter talking about the aftermath. That's where Rawporter comes in. Here's how it works. Imagine a fire breaks out downtown. One of our users sees it, instantly pulls up the Rawporter app, and records video of the burning warehouse. Once he's done, the app automatically time, date, and location stamps the video. He just types in a short description and then hits send. Meanwhile, the media outlets hear about the warehouse fire on their police scanners. They pull up our website and send an alert to nearby Rawporter users. We'll pay up to $75 for video of Main Street warehouse fire. Stay safe.
Okay, so you get the idea. The video goes on a little bit farther. But the point is crowdsourcing the news is certainly not a new idea. I mean, news outlets are looking at Twitter just as, I mean, it's been done certainly before. But the idea of having an actual app where you can, as a citizen journalist, get hooked up with a news outlet that could pay you a little bit of money for that video that you shot that you were just going to upload to Twitter anyway, is an interesting idea. I'm not sure if that's something that is a turnoff for some people because there'd be that kind of monetary incentive that could, I don't know, I guess skew real life a little bit. But I think that this would appeal to some people.
Yeah, I think it's definitely interesting. The only thing, and they touched on this at the very end when they said stay safe. The only thing I worry about sometimes, and I see this all the time with anchors talking on the news and saying, hey, if you have pictures of that accident or the tornado or whatever it might be, send them to us. And I think that it always needs to be reinforced that people stay safe when they're out there doing these type of things. Because obviously, there's going to be that crazy individual who decides that they're going to put their life at risk and try to sneak in and get a shot of the fire. And then who's responsible? Is it the news organization who sent them or encouraged them to go out there in the first place? So I think it's an interesting concept, and I think we're going to see more and more of this. It isn't cost effective to make news, especially television news for the most part. It just doesn't make sense. That's one of the reasons I don't do daily news anymore, is I remember sitting in at my desk and thinking, wow, it took us all day to produce this 90-second video feature, 8 or 9 hours, and it's already old. you know, it's a difficult thing. So it sounds kind of neat.
It does. It's funny. I'm looking at our chat room. People saying, "Oh, these news organizations are just trying to save money and fire their reporters." And believe me, that's been going on for a while now. The first job I had out of college was at Cron 4 News, which at the time was an NBC affiliate. It has since gone independent, but it was, one of the big news stations in the Bay Area, certainly well respected, had a lot of reporters, and over the last, I started that job in 1998. It is a completely different place now. Most reporters are also their own camera people, and there are a lot of people doing, wearing many more hats than it ever was like before, and more people have turned to other sources of news. Whether it's social media or podcasting, the kind of stuff that we're putting together, that news organizations really are in need of citizen journalism. Whether or not they're going to use Rawporter, I guess, remains to be seen, but I can definitely see why a company like Rawporter would say there is a need here that we'd like to fill.
Yeah, definitely. It's really neat. All right. So remember, we love hearing from you. All you have to do is write us at thesocialhour@twit.tv. You can also leave us a voicemail. We love hearing your voice at 2626social, or even better, record a video and upload it and send us the link. As always, try to keep your video to 30 seconds or less, and send us a link, and we'd love to share it on the show.
Absolutely. All right. Amber's Rad or Fad is just moments away. But first, we want to thank Ford Tech for sponsoring this episode of The Social Hour. Ford Tech is amazing. Here's the new thing. Wi-Fi connectivity in available sync and My Ford Touch cars, so that your Ford can now be a Wi-Fi hotspot. A Wi-Fi hotspot that's also a car. You can check it out in the new 2012 Ford Focus, and you can learn more at ford.com/technology. But if you're saying, well, wait a second, how does that even work? What you do is you actually you establish an internet connection by plugging a USB port or a USB card into the port in the car, and that's how it establishes the Wi-Fi hotspot. And then up to 5 different devices can tap into that Wi-Fi hotspot. It is also password protected. So if you're saying, well, this seems dangerous, what if I go through the drive-thru at McDonald's and someone's stealing my Wi-Fi? No, it's you have to be invited to get into the hotspot. But think of family vacations, friend road trips, or even just a couple of people who need to access better internet than anything they'd get on 3G, for example. So helpful in the Ford. And that's just one of the many things that Ford's been working on in the whole tech as a car arena. It's very, very cool. So think about accessing music, browsing the internet, downloading apps, all of that good stuff. All can be accessed via Wi-Fi. And this is all without an additional subscription or expense. So again, it's Ford Sync with My Ford Touch that features Wi-Fi connectivity now in the 2012 Ford Focus, and will be rolling out to other Ford models very soon. If you want to know more about this, Ford has put together a really nice explanation of everything that they're working on and what you can get in Ford cars at ford.com/technology. Really cool stuff. You got to love Ford for being on the forefront of all of this stuff. I spend so much time in my car, for better or for worse. That's what I do. Better part of 2 hours every day in my car. So I love stuff like this because it only makes me sort of working while I also travel that much easier. All right, moving on, Amber, it's time for your rad or fad.
Okay, so this one is kind of different. It's not a web service. It's not software. It is a gadget. It's a gadget that I read about on the site shinyshiny.tv, and I was first attracted to it because of the actual headline, because it talked about, it says, Griffin launches bright stylus range for winter to keep fingers warm. So basically, it's a stylus that allows you to touch screens, so you don't have to actually use your fingers. And for someone like me who lives in a cold climate and wants to be able to use an iPhone or an iPad outside if it's a little chilly, it's sort of a fun idea. The neat thing about this is it's not about just buying a stylus. They actually have different colors. So it comes in 10 different colors. A little bit pricey. It's about $20. So in my mind, this is kind of rad. I think maybe a stocking stuffer. That's the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, that is a really good stocking stuffer. So wait a second. So this is about it's so cold outside that I don't want to take my hand out of my pocket or out of my glove in order to be able to swipe around on my touchscreen.
Well, the funny thing is, I don't think Griffin actually markets it as that. They market it more as having more control, using your touch screen, being able to, if you need to draw, this is a better way to do it than just using your finger. You know, there are some apps where you're drawing things. So it just enables you to have more control and, just an easier way than using your finger. Also, no fingerprints. But Shiny took it to a different area and talked about, for people who live in colder climates, how it is a great little device. Although I think I might lose it. That's the only thing. I lose everything.
I lose everything too. If there isn't a chain on it attached to my person, it'll probably go wacky.
That's what
off.
I need.
I don't even have normal pens anymore. Searching through purses and in drawers at home. Like, do I have any pens to write things on a piece of paper? I'd like for this though. Yeah. So I guess Griffin made all these styli.
I know. I was wondering too.
Not sure. Variety of different colors. They're really cute. And people really like using stylus with smartphones and tablets anyway, just depending on what kind of stuff they do. And the fingerprint, it's just, a stylus is the finger of choice for a lot of people, for lack of a better term. But I like the idea of the winter time, keeping your fingers inside those gloves and still being able to use, be able to access your touchscreen, especially because the phones and tablets also get very cold because of their material. So it's like, even if your hand's warm, it's going to get cold as soon as you start touching things. It's like really cold glass.
Yeah, so if you're waiting for the bus, or if you live in a cold place and you're waiting for a streetcar, like in Toronto, there's streetcars everywhere. It's just a neat kind of must-have gadget. There
was another gadget that this reminds me of a little bit, except that they were gloves where the index finger had a certain kind of material, so you could still use that, capacitive touch on smartphones as if you didn't have any gloves on, because usually it doesn't work through material. The only problem with those is that I think the brand I'm thinking of was North Face. Only problem, so there you go. The problem is that hey, if fashion is your thing, this is not going to be the exact right fashion for everybody. So if you've got a stylist, especially a nice lime green one or something, then you don't have to worry about getting special gloves if you already have a really nice glove collection.
Yeah, I think it's rad for the gadget geek in your life.
Definitely.
I think as a little gift, you want to spend $20 and bring someone a gift, whether it's their birthday or a stocking stuffer. I think this is a fun thing for someone who is hooked on their touchscreen, whether it's a phone or a tablet.
Web285 in our chat room says, why not just cut the tips off your current gloves? I think Amber in a snowstorm in Toronto would tell you that's not good enough.
That's you can't do that. That's crazy talk. You cannot sacrifice a pair of gloves. You need them in this climate. But good idea. But I think still, if you want to use something that's even more precise, it's a good option.
Well, very good. I like it too. You're rad, Griffin. We're going rad this week. Okay, Amber, I know that you chose our goodbye video for the week, so it's time to say goodbye and then play ourselves out with a little something social. So,
yes.
So remember, to everybody that isn't watching us live, you can always watch live and be part of our chat room. It's a fun, interactive way to watch the show. Mondays, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Or if you can't watch us live or you just want to watch the episode again, twit.tv/TSH is where all of our episodes live in infamy and perpetuity. Forever and ever. Also where you can subscribe to the show so that you don't even have to think about when it's on. It'll just appear, of course, for free. iTunes and all sorts of other ways to subscribe. So, Amber, that's it for us this week. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir. It's been so much fun, and we'll see you next week. The video is very short, but I think it's a goodie.
All right.
See you later.
See you later. Bye, everybody.
So this is how you tweet, huh? So now I just press tweet. Do I press this?
That's how you tweet.
Whoa. I did it.
Yeah.